I know, my friends, if you watched AEW last night, you saw it, I saw it, we all saw it. If you're watching with your nan, she saw it. It could be the most criminal thing to ever happen in professional wrestling ever. As you can see on the screen right now, we had a match that was Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland taking on Lee Johnson and Blake Christian. And at one point, Blake Christian put William Ospreay in a wrist lock and he walked around the ropes. And he walked around the ropes for such a long time, it all of a sudden told your brain, I don't think what I'm watching right now is completely on the up and up. Obviously, I'm being facetious. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. You have to say that these days in 2025. I cannot believe this is what I woke up to this morning. And listen, I understand. The people that actually go out of their way to send messages and make a fuss are the minority. So you'll now be staring at the screen going, I understand what's happening here. But I can't help it, man. I'm like a lion that wants to eat the cheese. And sometimes I have to speak about it as well. But yes, think of The Undertaker's old school, right? When he used to walk around the ropes, he jumped up and went, bah! Well, Blake Christian did that, although he gave Will Ospreay an arm drag, I believe it was. And sure, Will Ospreay was down there for a long time, and Blake Christian was up there for a long-ass time too, and it was a little bit strange. I don't care, okay? That's how I feel about the whole situation. I don't give a damn. I kind of talked about some ups and downs, so I want to get into the nitty-gritty here, but you can check out Dynamite Ups and Downs, a big old review, step-by-step and chronologically orderly, over on What Culture Wrestling right now. Please subscribe to both of those, and go to the patreon.com/Simon316 and enjoy my Patreon nonsense too. Lots of watch-alongs that make me laugh. But it's wrestling, and there are two very specific parts of wrestling. There's way more than that. There's about 79 of them. But you can either go super serious and try and get the audience to suspend their disbelief, which is massively important, by the way. If they ever went away from sports entertainment, we'd all be boned. And the other way is you're all sat in a room, you have the booker, the promoter, you have one wrestler, two wrestler, three wrestler more, and you can sit there and go, well, given that we are all secretly working together, and given this is predetermined, and given this is meant to be a creative endeavor, why don't we do something fun tonight? Because we're the first match on a card, because we know there's going to be a dip here with the audience, or we just want to give the crowd something different, so you can do something like this. Of course you can. If you want that to be taken out of wrestling, more power to you, and I genuinely mean that, but you also can vote with your remote control or with your streaming device. You do not have to watch it, but man, would I hate that. I would hate it if I lived in a world where wrestling wasn't able to do whatever the flub that it wanted to do. Have you ever watched DDT in Japan? My gosh, that is the best amalgamation of both of these styles. You can have somebody like threaten someone with a gun and then get some weird flashback video on the screen about the relationship they had 10 years ago, and then you can get two people just smashing each other in the head and doing the most hard-hitting style ever, and it is flipping awesome. I just kind of think we're getting bogged down on the wrong things here, and I understand some of it, not all of it, but some of it is grifting, and some of it is AEW versus WWE and tribalism, and you'll sit there and you'll hate watch, right? Like when you doom scroll, you're looking for things to drag out and go, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. But the truth is, it's overall promotions, AEW, WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan. If you really have that sort of an eye, and you've got like a pirate look, and you are looking for this stuff, you will see people waiting for dives. You will see people doing stuff like this. You will see people overselling or underselling. The comparison is so obvious. Here, Will Ospreay in a real world would have gone, I'm not going to let you do this, and he would have pulled him down. But 2 weeks ago, as a cup just falls down off my desk, which is absolutely terrifying. But 2 weeks ago or a week ago, when John Cena cut his pipe bomb promo, CM Punk also laid in that table for around about 47 years. We've never seen a wrestler suffer so much injuries like that before, but it was just designed for that segment, for the story, what we needed to do in that given moment. And I don't care. I laugh about it afterwards. I think it's very amusing, but I also think it's somewhat quaint and somewhat special when it comes to this sport that we love. And I never want it to go away, much like the whole 2 feet have to touch the floor in a Royal Rumble. We take it so literally. Or that you can be eliminated from the Royal Rumble, and if you get in and eliminate someone else, that's perfectly fine. Nobody cares, and they will let you get away with it. I think it's wonderful, because you couldn't get away with it in anywhere else, be it entertainment or sports. Even in a movie, somebody would go, oh, I'm not 100% sure why we're doing that. But in wrestling, with its live action, its entertainment, its reactions, I think it's wonderful, and I do not want it to take away, which I've already done, more for me, from the awesome tag team of Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland, who are now taking on the Young Bucks at All In with the EVP ship on the line. I think they mean Matt and Nick will lose their EVP titles and their jobs. Not that Swerve and Will Ospreay will become EVPs. I'm making the same joke here, but I found it very funny. You could literally do a skit on Dynamite where they are stuck, like writing out checks, going, this is not what we wanted. Now we have to be management. We don't want to. That match could be fantastic. I don't understand why people rag on Matthew and Nicholas Jackson so much. They did change the game. They opened up door for the world we kind of live in today, and they are so damn good. I've never seen them have a bad match, especially not in the last 5 years. And Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland proved last night on Dynamite they are ridiculous too. I think it's going to be great, and whoever came up with that stipulation, so smart. It's not a street fight, it's not a hardcore match, it's not a Falls Count Anywhere. It's the very sports entertainment, I think that's fair to say, stipulation, but it will make it feel different from everything else on the show. It also ties into the bigger story that we are telling, and I would also guess that it ends the Young Bucks' reign of terror as the pseudo bosses, as they probably go back to being babyface. Don't have a problem with that at all. And the super kick brainbuster combo, I think it was, the Mortal Kombat moves that Ospreay and Swerve hit to basically win this thing. Incredible. So damn good. I just was overwhelmed. That's not true. That's way much of an exaggeration. But sometimes I watch this stuff, the timing, the movement, how they all well gel together. I just think it's really good. And then John Moxley, I also thought, sort of raised the game here as well. I think he's truly bought into this Hangman Adam Page storyline. He cut a promo on a stairwell just saying, dude, you're a loser. You're an emo boy. You just cry all the time. I'm not like that. I want to be the world champion. I'm going to show you who is the world champion. And after the Beast Mortos match, and in the middle of the show too, we made some very strict dividing lines here, because the Young Bucks are now kind of with the Young Bucks. No, the Young Bucks are now kind of with the Don Callis family, because Okada's got help there too. At the end of the show, we saw them take out Hangman Adam Page with the EVP trigger, but you could argue it's a ruse. We don't know until we get to All In. And then Samoa Joe and his operations team came out. So now, yes, we have all our good guys, we have all our bad guys, and you have to presume that when we get to the main event of All In with Hangman Adam Page and John Moxley for that world title, we're going to get to all this. You stole the championship. We need to win the company back. It's going to be an absolute schmoz. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous, but hook that to my veins. As long as the first 3 quarters of it is allowing John Moxley and Hangman to show what they've got, which they will do, of course you should back end the nonsense when it comes to the second half, which makes no sense, the last quarter, because sometimes that just works, especially when you're doing it in a big stadium. And as long as it ends with Hangman Adam Page raising the belt, and you get all this, oh my gosh, oh I can't believe it, 1-2 oohs, where you think the Riders of Death are going to win, awesome. And you could even get Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale involved here. Willow's been doing stuff with them for ages. Now, obviously, they're directly involved because Chris Statlander won her fatal 4-way match, whatever you want to call it, to get into the Women's Gauntlet at All In. Maybe she comes out and does a double-double swerve and goes, I'm not helping the Death Riders. I'm going to help my man. It just, I think, has allowed us to hope for the potential, which is the worst sentence anyone has ever said, for some right awesomeness when we get to the biggest pay-per-view of the year for AEW. So all of that was really, really good. Surprised that Beast Mortos was in the main event. I don't want to get bogged down with this either. Sure, maybe he got this opportunity because he's dating Mercedes Moné. I don't care. It's been happening in this world for the last 476 years. If I was dating someone in wrestling and that got me an opportunity, awesome. I'd jump on that horse and I'd ride it all the way to Horsetown and hopefully get more opportunities. As long as you back it up, well, it works both ways. If you get put in that role and you crap the bed, you're probably going to lose it again. But if you smashed it like Beast Mortos did, you're going to be fine. It was totally bizarre as a main event. Don't get me wrong. Hangman Adam Page versus Beast Mortos. And really, given how they have been portrayed, Hangman should have beaten him in like 2 minutes. Because the Beast Mortos is a talented guy, and I hope we do give him a proper push and maybe even a championship run at some point. Not a world title, but a TNT or whatever it may be. But he has lost to far lesser people than Hangman, and it was weird for all of a sudden our number 1 contender and Great White Hope not to struggle, but get his ass kicked. So that's kind of one of those nerdy things that sometimes I do get dragged into. It's not a big deal. I just put that in my head. If I would argue the bigger deal is actually giving Beast Mortos that platform and proving that he can go, which he can do. Then all the nonsense afterwards. And of course, you had the men's qualifier for the men's Gauntlet 2, dumbest thing I've ever said, which Mark Briscoe won. That match was awesome anyway. You had Takeshita, you had Bandido, and they had someone else that's totally escaped my brain. But it was just to see Mark Briscoe win, right? Mark Briscoe is just the best person ever. He's the best person on the planet. And I basically love him. It was Roderick Strong. It just, the interaction with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate, I'll get to in one just second, because that was just good television. There's nothing wrong with that. But Mark Briscoe has this quality to him where you just want him to do well. And I'm pretty sure if you went through his AEW track record, it'd be lost, win, lost, win, kind of promo, major lost, win. But he still gets big reactions. He still gives 100% in every match that he does do. And now it kind of feels like we have added a few devices to this men's casino gauntlet. I can't remember what we call it. It changes all the time, but I love those matches. MJF is entering a qualifier next week. I'd imagine he gets in, and that's what he does at AEW All In, which is actually good because you want those kind of stars in it, so it does feel like a big deal. We know that Mark Briscoe's going to be number 1. I would put Mystico in it too, and then I think you build 2 programs for MJF before he eventually does go back for the world title. Mystico will probably be at the CMLL show, and I think Mystico will eliminate MJF, and you can do something awful here where probably it's MJF that eliminates Mark Briscoe in a terrible way, and that leads to a match they can do at a pay-per-view. Or, you know what, you can do it the other way, have Mark Briscoe eliminate him, and then have Mark Briscoe go for the World Championship, but it's MJF that costs him, and that leads to the pay-per-view, because then, finally, Mark Briscoe would get a duel that I think a lot of people are hoping that he has been able to get for a while, and I think that would really make Maxwell Jacob Friedman a super asshole. Sometimes people are worried he gets too many cheers. I don't care. I just think throw people out there and see how they're going to react. But if Mark Briscoe is about to beat whoever or is doing well and MJF screws him over, it's good television, man. Speaking about good television, Mark Briscoe came out to interrupt the Hurt Syndicate after the Hurt Syndicate once again have beaten up Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey. It does sound like we're doing the tag match at All In. I've now convinced myself, probably incorrectly, that Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight are going to win, which is why they die all the time. Because if you win the big match, it doesn't matter, right? It's the same we just talked about with Mark Briscoe, but they did wreck him. And then when they gave MJF the microphone, he announced he was going to be in that gauntlet. When Mark Briscoe came out and said, listen, I'm meant to have a match, and production had told me once again you're going too long. So they just insult him. But because Mark Briscoe is just the bastion of good, so I understand, Maxwell. It's because you've had a hard life and you've been bullied and you have a small kosher pickle, obviously referring to his penis. MJF sold this so funny. Like, it's all about the reaction. If MJF just shrugged it off, it wouldn't have been anything, but he was so horrified by this. And Bobby Lashley, obviously by accident, just burst out laughing. He couldn't handle it. But when you can tell it's real, it just works. It was a bit like the Bloodline stuff with Sami Zayn. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum, and it makes you resonate with all those characters. And MJF and MVP, the acronym brothers, going off on the fans, quite clearly ad-lib too. They're wonderful. And if before MJF was kind of getting cheered, and so were the Hurt Syndicate, them aligning has done the opposite. Everybody hates them. So fair play all around for that. That has been a successful experiment. I still can't see Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin losing those tag titles. I hope I'm wrong. I put a lot on the fact that I think that they're wrong, but I am going to find out. And the women's one was great as well. We talked about it, kind of Thunder Rosa, Chris Statlander, Athena, and Willow Nightingale. The Death Riders just now involved with Chris Statlander. John Moxley had a chat with her last week. Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir did here, and last week. Here she did use that to take out Willow Nightingale to get the win. Does that mean the Forever Feud will continue? No problem with that, because I love Chris and Willow together. Again, is it just a tease before we get to All In? But it's interesting to have those kind of stories. And Chris Statlander being in the Casino Gauntlet #1, you can still put Willow in there and sort of continue it that way. I know it's kind of daft because you're like, well, surely it should be you don't get in it at all. But they did this last year, and the explanation was, well, no, that was to be #1. And because the match can finish at any time, it's not like the Royal Rumble. You want to get closer to #1 than you do number 47 or whatever. I still think there should be more jeopardy in those matches. But again, I'm living in La La Land. I've made this up in my head for 2025. And if you enter one of those, and then you also get to go in at a later number, I don't know about that. But it's not a massive deal. And again, it hasn't happened yet. So I don't want to get carried away here. And then Okada and Kota Ibushi staring at each other. It's a weird way to put it. After Kota Ibushi's return match, after a hell of a long time against Trent. It's one of those things where I have to remember, go watch the Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens interview on the What Do You Want to Talk About podcast. It reminds you how scary and how dangerous wrestling can be. And Kota Ibushi, quite clearly for the last few years, has been in a terrible state, and apparently now actually has some health to him. So to get to the point where you may actually be doing Okada versus Ibushi on AEW on USA television, I think we all forget, and I think it's good that we forget, because it means we've been spoiled. If you had told anybody that in 2019, they'd be like, there's just no way. Even 2020, there's just no way. It is an iconic match, depending on what your love of wrestling is and where you sort of go watch your professional wrestling. I don't know what they can do anymore, because Okada's not the same guy and Kota Ibushi's not the same guy. Sometimes people say that like it's a bad thing. I mean, are you the same person you were 5 years ago? Of course you're not. If you're an active athlete, I bet your bones are hurting and your muscles are hurting, so you can't go as you once used to, or to keep up to that level, you have to do so much recovery and so much yoga and so many ice baths and who knows whatever it is. I go to physio every week now, given my wrestling career. But the fact that we are still in a position to have that showcase on free television for Dynamite 300, don't get me started on that, where does the time go? Doesn't even matter if that's not for you. You should be able to appreciate that's a really cool thing. And it's why, and no one's picking so bad at me now, it's why I like the fact we're getting Goldberg versus Gunther too. I understand there's no past history there, but the crazy world of wrestling means you can be 58 years old, and due to your legacy, you get one last match. I think it's great for the man, the real person that is Bill Goldberg. And even if it sucks, who cares? It's one event in a year where we're going to get 7,222 of them. I like the chaos. I like the madness. And I really like this episode of AEW Dynamite that started with Mercedes Moné dressed like a cowgirl, beating up Toni Storm, who's dressed like Carmen Sandiego. That's just good stuff. Mina Shirakawa comes out. We're going to do that match next week. Kind of felt like we were increasing the heat on Mercedes versus Toni, which we do need to do. We're coming up to that 2-week mark. And next week, I think think Toni Storm needs to get her revenge, and then we need to get into the deep, dark promos. But I think AEW's in a very good position coming up to All In. They're probably going to hit 20,000 tickets. People would tell you that's a disgrace and how dare they and awful. If you had told anybody, again, 5-6 years ago, as I continue to hammer this point home, that a non-WWE company was going to be able to sell 20,000 plus seats for any event, they would have laughed at you. The original All In 2018, people didn't think they could do 10,000. So that goes to show the expectation bar changes. I don't care if there's 7 people in there. I mean, I do to a certain extent, because obviously the more people there, the better atmosphere you get. But as long as I get a good show, and as long as I am entertained, what the flub do I care? I thought this was a good Dynamite. I thought you could criticize it, but I thought you would be kind of picking at straws a little bit. You even have the sub-stories. Like Ricochet is looking for his new bald group. Put me in there. I said this on What Culture Ups and Downs. Say it here too. I'll be the special guest commentator. I don't need to wrestle. I'll be that guy like Don Callis. I'll just get on the mic and be like, listen, bald people are good. All right? Let me tell you, all this stuff that bald people do is Ricochet kicks somebody's ass and probably stabs them with scissors. But he tried to AR Fox, and as soon as it went bad, he just portrayed him. Just left. I love this Ricochet character. More power to that guy. He bet on himself by leaving WWE. He did offer him a new deal. And I like Ricochet there, but he's so much more multifaceted here, and he's so much more layered as a character, and he's just funnier. I like funny people in pro wrestling. So, good episode of Dynamite. There was some random stuff, as there always is. It's like going into a pizza restaurant and order a burger. I just think you have to expect it now and not be surprised. And I'm really intrigued to see where we're going to be in a couple of weeks' time, because we do have these big warring factions, the good guy and the bad guys, that are all not only going to be tied into that main event, but be all over that show as well, as they should be, because they're the stars. And the FTR promo, it's FTR versus the Outrunners on Collision. And Stokely Hathaway just goes, after you screwed us, I suggested vandalism. But Cash and Dax talked me out of it. I need to know who put those 3 together. It's an inspired choice. They're so good as heels, and the only thing that they lack is going after the tag titles, which I really do hope happens after All In. That's why it's a good thing if Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey win those titles, because you can go straight into that, and I think it would be hilarious. AEW's found its footing again, which is awesome, and WWE's great right now as well. I'm not going to compare the two. I'm just happy I'm getting all this good TV, and then we get all the crazy CM Punk stuff and John Cena tomorrow night, and who the flub knows what's going to happen there. Now, my friends, you don't agree with me, but that is great. That's what the comment section is for. Come and let me know your 2 cents, and we can discuss it. I am an open book. Also, when you are hanging out down there, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe, notification bell. Click the video on the screen to get all my thoughts about Monday Night Raw, because I did have some interesting thoughts apparently that nobody agreed with. Otherwise, patreon.com/Simon316, $5 for watchalongwillamind.com/Simon with 10% off all their products, and it ships worldwide, and it's brilliant stuff that I use. I will have some more stuff before the gym today. Simon J. Miller on TikTok, Simon Miller on Cameo, Simon316 on all social medias, Big Cartel and Pro Wrestling Tees for merchandise. Now we breathe. It's too hot in the UK. I keep telling you this, but it is. I love you. Take care. Have a good day. See you soon.